Welcome to the Angel Rewatch, a spoiler-free retrospective podcast on Angel. I'm William.
And I'm Derek, and this is a podcast for Reunion, originally airing December 19th, 2000, written by Tim Minear and Sean Ryan. Gunn is taking a very disoriented Angel into the Hyperion Hotel, and Angel manages to tell the gang that Darla is dead and that Drusilla turned her. He says he's going to stake her before she can turn. He just has to find her first. He then rushes off to Lindsay's apartment. But Lindsay has left the building completely moved out. The landlord of the building, seemingly completely undisturbed by Angel's giant boot print in the door, tells Angel that Lindsay left yesterday. She then starts talking about a British cousin who is very excited about her upcoming birth. She says the cousin wanted to give birth under the stars, and Angel realizes she's talking about Drusilla. Drusilla has Darla's body on a greenhouse on a rooftop. Holland comes in and congratulates her on becoming a mother, while Lindsay is being a super creep, and Lila is as flawless as her skin. Holland tells Drusilla that they have preparations to make, and they leave her alone. With Gunn's help, Angel figures out that Drusilla must be in a plant nursery, and because Wolfram Hart has corporate suppliers or something, he easily finds the exact nursery. He's about to stake Darla when he gets emotional, and then Drusilla hits him over the head with a shovel. Drusilla and Angel fight, and Darla wakes up as a vampire. Then the three vampires start fighting with each other. Darla, disoriented and confused, ricochets between Angel and Drusilla. During a fight, there is a moment where Angel can stake Darla again, but she recognizes him and calls him Angel. Disturbed, Angel can't stake her, and Darla jumps off the roof. Angel goes back to the Hyperion and arms everyone and tells them it's time to move. Wesley and Cordelia want to talk it through, but Angel bulldozes them and they all reluctantly follow him out. Holland is talking to Lindsay about if he's bringing a date to a work party at the offices of Wolfram Hart. Obviously, Lindsay, being all hung up on Darla for yet unknown reasons, says he doesn't have one. Holland tells him that maybe he should get a former relationship outside of work, maybe someone who's not a deeply damaged psychotic former vampire. Speaking of which, Darla then busts into the office at that exact moment. Darla comes up to Lindsay, sniffs his neck, and Lindsay is so pleased by it I almost vomited. Thankfully, Darla throws him across the room and then grabs Drusilla and drags her outside. Meanwhile, in the Angelmobile, Cordelia gets a vision. Angel doesn't want to turn around, determined to find Darla and Drusilla, but with the helpful persuasion of a stake, he turns the car around to wherever the vision leads them. Darla is beating Drusilla up in the street, throwing her into traffic. She slams her up against the car and asks her why she turned her. In her very Drusilla way, she says she thought she was only helping and that she was lonely. Drusilla missed her family. Darla surprisingly comforts her. This all happens in front of a guy in a truck on the road, and even there is no oncoming traffic, and he has just seen Drusilla get hit by a car with seemingly no damage. He thinks the best solution is to yell at the vampires. Darla kills him. And then she asks Drew if she wants to go shopping. At the vision site, Angel has no time for the victim, who is about to kill himself to please some demon. He takes the gun and quickly tries to leave. Wesley goes to stop him, but Angel pushes him to the side and tells him he has more important things to do. Drusilla and Darla are in the middle of their shopping/murdering spree when Holland calls. He tells them they are free to massacre whoever they want, and they'll have the full support of Wolfram Hart because legal representation is the first thing on their minds. For whatever reason, Holland is pretty pleased with himself. Angel will be completely distracted and won't come after them. But then Angel, being metal as hell, swings into the office through the window. Angel grabs Lindsay right away because he just looks so cute with his new haircut, but then Holland introduces himself and Angel turns on him. Because Angel is no match for the intellectual doublespeak of Holland or the 20 guards who bust him with stakes, Angel is arrested. Angel's taken out to the police car where Kate is waiting for him. Kate, though, lets Angel go, telling him that their murders have been connected with someone matching Darla's description. She thinks that Angel is the only one that can stop them. Angel then goes to the store where Darla and Drusilla were, but they have moved on. Darla and Drusilla have showed up at Holland's mansions after being invited in by his clueless wife. All the Wolfram Hart executives are in Holland's wine cellar. Holland is shocked, especially by seeing his wife's blood on Drusilla's lips, but he tries to get the situation under control. Darla, though, isn't too happy about being brought back as a dying human. The firm is terrified, except for Lindsay, who seems to be a weird combination of pleased and turned on. Angel finds the sole survivor in the store and discovers that Darla and Drusilla left to go to the party. He shows up, and Holland's seriously injured but still alive wife pleads with him to save them. Angel goes down into the wine cellar. Holland, fighting a losing battle, asks Angel to save them. Angel tells Darla he was sorry he couldn't save her, then he says he won't do anything about it tonight. Holland tells Angel that people will die, And Angel closes the door and tells him he can't seem to care, throwing back Colin's own words at him. He locks Darla and Drusilla in with the Wolfram and Hart executives and walks away from their screams as they are murdered. Back at the Hyperion, Angel tells the rest of the team. Obviously, they tell Angel what he did was wrong and they are worried about him. Wesley tells him that he thinks they are the only thing standing between Angel and true darkness, and he hopes that Angel understands that. Angel tells him that he does, and then he fires them all and walks out of the room. End of episode. What was that?
So, I'm going to get so much crap because I don't, love this.
Well, I don't. Because you're miserable. I don't understand why.
I know, I'm a miserable human being. No, but this was very good. Mm-hmm. I'm really happy they're sticking with the main storyline. I know in a 22-episode season that they're going to have filler episodes, but I was happy to, especially with the mid-season finale last week.
Well, this is the mid-season finale.
Oh, this is the mid-season finale?
This is their Christmas episode. Very cheery. It aired on the 19th, so it was almost a week before Christmas. Exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I mean, having the cliffhanger last week, I guess, it was really good to continue on with the story, and I definitely kind of hit the ground running with Crazy Angel.
Mm-hmm. I just don't understand why you don't like this, or you don't love this as much as I do, because this is by far to me the best episode they've done. Because per capita, I can't think, just on Rewatch, I can't think of more memorable moments in a single episode of the show off the top of my head. Because what I remembered was that it takes Angel almost the entire episode to find Darla. And he does it in about the first 10 minutes. And then from that point onward, we're on a roller coaster ride of depressing, dark stuff that I really love.
Okay, well, first of all, I would say that I still like this episode a lot. And that last moment is a very, 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 very good moment. Mm-hmm. Part of it is I wasn't exactly thrilled with Darla. Okay. And I'm still kind of confused. I'm confused by a number of things. One is Lindsay.
Well, I
don't know what's going on.
I'm confused by Lindsay as well. I don't know what's going on there, but I find it actually kind of interesting for once.
And I find it interesting too. I just really don't know what's going on, which I guess it's not like a strike against the episode.
No, there's something weird going on with Lindsay. He's gone from really creepy to well, he's still really creepy, but he's kind of intriguingly creepy because there's something about a guy who knows that he's faced with death, and he is smirking the entire time Darla and Drusilla are in that wine cellar. And I don't understand it, but I hate him. There's nothing that he can do that's not going to make me hate him, but I actually was interested in what he was saying besides his just stupid face, and I wanted to smush it into a jelly.
Yeah, he did. He does a good job. He's obviously fascinated.
Well, he seems to be very naive about vampires, at least in the scene with Drusilla.
Right, but even the first time he's when he's gazing upon Darla as she's sleeping, he just seems kind of fascinated by her, which it is interesting. I don't know what they're trying to say or what's going on with this character. I did love the moment when Lila busts in and says, "Hey, now you have a shot with her."
Well, Lila is flawless.
Your girl came back?
Yes.
That's why you love this episode so much.
She's barely in it, and she might die at the end of it. Although I highly doubt that Lila and Lindsay die because they're too important characters to die off screen. Holland, though, he's dead. He's super dead.
You don't piss off Darla and Drusilla, apparently.
Yeah. So, what do you have? You're confused. So we've discussed that Lindsay is a mystery.
Right.
But what's your problem with Darla?
there are I don't know. I mean, she is basically her character from the flashbacks. Now, it does take a while for Darla to get to her old self, which I find interesting because it kind of paints a interesting perspective on like the lore of vampires in this. Like, how long does it take you to kind of lose your old human self as you've been turned? But
well, there's just that one moment where she calls him Angel.
Right, but she seems kind of confused.
Well, I think she's confused because she's just been quote unquote born. I think that just happens. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I guess from this episode it does seem that there is somewhat of a transitional period where you're not quite a vampire yet. Where she's actually upset that she's been turned.
Right. Like she's still holding on to some sort of human, whatever she was caring about as she was human.
Yes.
And then it kind of just gets stripped away. It's pretty much the moment she drinks that guy's, the trucker guy's blood.
It stops for me when she takes on that kind of motherly role with Drusilla in the street. And then, and then that leads to her biting the douchebag who can't go around for some reason.
Like, yes, the right side of the street is...
There's another car that does the exact same thing. It's not like they're gigantic women who are blocking the street. They're right up against that car. He just needs to yell at them.
He just wanted to tell someone off, and he made a big, big mistake. Okay, so there are a couple of moments that I do really like with Darla, namely when she's at the boutique store or whatever, and she's talking to the woman that's trying to crawl away. I found that really disturbing and creepy. But for the most part, I don't know, there's something lacking to me about Darla just being a vampire again.
See, I don't find anything lacking about it. And I don't know. I can't explain why. I don't. I think... I'm not so interested in her in this episode, and I'm not sure that we're really supposed to be.
Right.
It's more about Angel and his complete break. But I found her, like, I'm not upset that she's been turned now and she's going to be going around wreaking havoc, because she is incredibly scary in that boutique scene. And the only problem I have is just a little nitpick of the entire episode is in the staging of the street fight between Drusilla and Darla, where it seems like the actresses are doing their own stunts, and it feels like they're holding... Julie Benz feels like she's not trying to bash Juliette Landau's head into the street, and it looks obvious on screen, and it kind of takes away from me for that, but that's the only problem I have. Like, I like the disoriented Darla running around in that white dress without any shoes and just going insane.
Right.
I really like that. And then just from the moment when she kind of accepts that she's a vampire and becomes the old Darla, it just gets so tense from the end of the episode to that. There's two. Well, people in feedback don't like the last final scene, which I think is just as good, but that scene where Angel lets everyone in Wolfenheart die. Right.
Well, talking about the staging of that fight, the thing I did really love is when Drusilla gets hit by the car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they do the very, Terminator, she stands up really quick.
Yeah.
Super creepy. Drusilla was very creepy in this episode.
Drusilla, I didn't not like her in Buffy, but I liked her way more in this episode than I think I ever did on Buffy, because she was always kind of being overshadowed by Spike. And she was just in the corner saying weird Drusilla nonsense. Little wormy in the dirt, and no. What I really did like, though, speaking about Lindsay, is when he asks Drusilla if Darla can hear her, and she says she's dead. Like Lindsay, when you need a logic talk from Drusilla, that would suggest how whatever weird thing's going on with Lindsay, he is not connecting the dots.
Right, and he, when you're trying to talk crazy to a crazy person.
Mm-hmm. But all right, so you're not connecting to Darla.
Mainly, it's the first half of the episode.
Okay. So we might as well. So you're just not into it, and you're wrong, and we can move on.
Well, no, I'm not even saying that. I was still into it, and I was still enjoying.
But you're not. You don't find it exciting, as exciting as I do. Right.
It didn't have the exact build-up that I was looking for, and it's really everything that's not from the Angel perspective, because I really feel like all the Angel scenes do really help build up to that last moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in a way they've been building up the whole season to that last moment.
Right.
Which is much improved over last season. Okay, so we might... First, before we talk about Angel, though, I do want to talk about Holland. Because Holland's plan was apparently the stupid plan that we said shouldn't be his plan, but it didn't bother me because of the way it was presented here. Because from Holland's perspective, it's not like he tries to control Darla and Drusilla. He seems to want that partnership between them, and that makes sense from Holland's perspective, because we've seen him, Wolfram Hart, have relationships with vampires before.
Right, we've definitely seen that, from the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And it still seems, he's still trying to manipulate them.
Yeah, and he's very good at it. He does seem to have Drusilla under some bit of control. She seems to be grateful that she gets to be a mummy.
Right. It definitely feels like Holland is just kind of like trying to point them in a specific direction, namely towards messing with Angel.
Well, just kill things and that'll mess with Angel. And it does help that there are kind of multiple moments where Holland could save himself. Like, if his wife wasn't... I get the sense that from his conversation with Lindsay that his wife has no idea what he really does. She must know he's a lawyer, but I don't think she knows what kind of lawyer he is. And therefore, if she had known, she wouldn't have invited Drusilla and Darla into the house. And if he hadn't treated Angel the way he did, Angel might have saved them. So there are multiple instances where it blows up in his face because of his own actions. And it's not just that he made this stupid decision to trust them.
He is really arrogant. He thinks he can control the situation. Even when faced with them trapped in a cellar with two killer vampires, he's still trying to take control. And
he obviously doesn't do... I don't think... If Angel hasn't shown up, I think they're going to kill them anyway, but he does seem to be stalling them in a way.
Right.
He does have the situation under a bit of control.
Yeah, they haven't straight up just killed everyone yet.
Mm-hmm. But that could just be because they don't want to do it yet. They're kind of enjoying dangling death in front of them.
Right. Which they talk about the entire time.
Mm-hmm. But it's a stupid plan, but the way it is presented on screen, I completely buy that Hans thought they could get away with this. Because he is so smart that it doesn't bother me, and he's so full of himself that I believe it's completely plausible to me that he thought this would work out. And he just gets taken out by his own hubris.
And the thing is, it is working.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. The plan worked as far as the senior partners are concerned, which was to turn Angel dark. They got what they wanted. Just it didn't work out for Holland.
Yeah. I really love Holland, and I really love that Angel and Holland finally get to have their moment together.
Well, okay, there's so many things about that scene. Just the way that Angel swings in from wherever. I don't care. That's metal as hell. And when he does animal-like scurries across that desk and grabs Lindsay is just beyond badass. But the thing I love the most is Holland's face when the window shatters, because he looks so scared like a little girl. And he kind of like, he stumbles off in like a really pathetic way, and then he just turns around immediately and has his hand out to shake Angel's and introduces himself. It's just so perfect.
See, I didn't notice Holland's face with.
Well, I gifted it, so I had to watch it over and over again, and I just couldn't stop looking at his face.
Yeah, Angel went Batman as hell, and went straight for his boy.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense to go for Lindsay, because who else are you going to threaten? He's the easiest one to do it, because he's the weakest. And then it just sets up, that entire scene just sets up the end.
Yeah, I mean, how much more can Angel take?
Okay, so do you want to talk? I don't want to talk about the end right away. I want to talk about, because it's, as much as they've been built the entire season to Angel doing this, it's also built up in this episode.
Right.
So we might as well just start from the beginning and talk about Angel's journey to complete darkness.
Right, at the start of the episode, I mean, he's obviously still disoriented from the trial and Darla being turned in front of him. And he's definitely just kind of in shock. I guess I didn't mind this because they were just setting up from last week's. No,
and I do like that. Apparently, he was in there till like sunrise. They didn't find him, and Gunn didn't find him till then, because Gunn has some line about he tried to get him into the car without him bursting into flames, because the whole episode takes place. It's pretty close to like sundown when the episode starts, and that's when they're on a pretty tight time crunch.
Right. Use of time in the episode works very well. Like I can totally believe that Angel has not slept, is just going.
I mean, he seems to have recovered a bit miraculously from his injuries. But I'm willing to accept it, because physically, maybe, but mentally he is not in a good place.
And he's on just a mission from hell. Like, he just is so intent and focused on getting Darla dead.
Yes. Getting Darla dead. Yep. So there's been not necessarily a problem for me in the season, but it's been so focused on Angel, and the rest of the gang has been so kind of marginalized, which if they hadn't focused on Angel this much, I don't think this episode would be nearly as effective. But it does bother me in a way how little they focused on them. And this scene, they don't get to do a lot, but what Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn do in this episode is significant, I think.
I think so too. We'll get to the final moment later, but I like they're still more involved in this episode than they really have been in a while. And it still is focused on Angel, but I do love how much they're able to interject with the three of them. And I like how the the separation between Angel and the three of them is becoming more and more apparent, and it keeps building up. They've been building up to the final moments in this episode throughout the season, which has been really nice.
Yeah.
Like, as much as our gang's been marginalized, it has been at least for a purpose.
Yeah, because they can't... I mean, it becomes clear in this episode that Angel doesn't really listen. Because if they had tried to talk him off the ledge before, I don't think you can't have that scene at the end where he fires them. Or you can, but I don't think it has nearly as much impact, because this is the first time they try to do it and they fail. Because he just doesn't care anymore. And that's what is most terrifying to me about this, and the most effective about it, is Angel recognizes where he is, and he knows he probably shouldn't be doing this. He just can't seem to care.
Right. I mean, it's exactly what Wolfram Hart wants him, and it's so different than, say, if he was just to turn into Angelus.
No, because he's not Angelus. There's a very different way Angelus acts as opposed to the way Angel's acting now.
Right. And I love how different it is. And I love how through the season they've been talking about how Wolfram and Hart wants him as Angelus. But
they want him distracted. I guess the biggest answer of what Wolfram and Hart wants we get in this episode, where they're kind of gloating and they say that he'll be distracted. We can do whatever we want. And they don't want him dead.
And they don't want him
dead.
The
senior partners don't want him dead.
Not yet, according to Holland.
Yeah.
So I just the journey that we've had with both him and our gang have been really good. I like the moment whenever Cordelia gets a vision, which she hasn't gotten in a really long time, and how Angel is so focused on getting to Darla and Drusilla that he's just kind of shooing her away.
Well, he doesn't. It's a pretty dark comedic moment when he comes in with the kid who's about to commit suicide and just, I'm sure you have some reason to live, and then whatever, he just doesn't care. It's so far removed. He's so far removed from what he should be doing, and everybody recognizes it, and I think he recognizes it as himself. It just doesn't matter to him anymore. Because we started off the season, he was so focused on his mission and his path for redemption, and now none of that matters to him.
Was this one of the first guys we've seen?
Well, yeah.
In a vision?
I think it's actually the first ever that the powers that be have decided that Angel needs to save a guy, and Angel responds with, Angel's going to be less interested.
See, he should have been just a pretty blonde girl.
Maybe if it was a pretty blonde girl, maybe he would have listened. And maybe Holland would still be alive. Whenever
they finally convince Angel to turn the car around, they do that shot and something.
See, I didn't notice this.
But they do this stunt, and you can so clearly see 3 stunt people in the car, and then a really terrible dummy of Cordelia.
I didn't notice that at all.
It's really distracting. Go! You have to watch it. Well, I want a gif of that.
Well, you should watch Helen's face when the windows breaks. But are we at the final scene now? Because I feel like we are.
Sure. Yeah. I don't think there's much else from the gang. I mean, it was nice to see.
Well, we can talk about the firing after we talk about the condemnation. But so in a post Breaking Bad world, there are, I would say, quite a bit of anti-heroes in TV, of people that are not necessarily nice people. And Angel, I think, would fall into that as of now. And the problem for every Walter White, there are characters who are just kind of dark and gritty because that somehow seems more interesting. Like darkness for its sake, which I don't think at all is the case with Angel here. It just makes him, the darkness that he exhibits in this episode just makes him so much more interesting to me and makes him feel so much more like a real person.
What I keep thinking about is back in Dear Boy when Darla is confronting Angel and saying, my boy is just underneath the surface and he wants to get out. Mm-hmm. The darkness that he's showing in this episode is a part of who he is.
Yes. There is an equal part of him that wants redemption, but also at the same part, this is why he is so tortured all the time, because this is always under the surface. And he's constantly fighting against it, and now he's just let any kind of self-control of keeping that at bay go. And he recognizes that the gang is what's keeping him away, so that's why he fires them too. But this is just, he's let go, and there's such a dourness to it, and it's not Angelus, because Angelus enjoys the pain. And Angel is not enjoying himself, but he is taking a bit of satisfaction about it.
Right. He's just angry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and he's failed. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, Darla has died. She's gotten turned. Wolfram Hart is winning.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Well, Wolfram Hart has seemingly won, even though... Well, the senior partners have won.
Sure. I mean, ultimately, he seems very self-aware of what he's doing,
mm-hmm.
though.
Which is what makes it work so well to me. Is it's not just like Angel's evil now and he's completely out of control. He's in control, and there's just an apathy of what he's doing. It's this thing that is scariest to me is the apathy behind it. There's nothing there besides the anger. Right.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who was talking about the levels of brooding Angel goes through. This is on a whole new level.
Oh, well, this isn't brooding. This is just...
There's something about how calm he presents himself.
Yes, that's it.
But you can see, like, underneath.
It's just the rage is so clearly comes across that he is in control. Well, it's suppressed, but there's just so much going on.
It's palpable what you're getting from him.
Yeah.
Like, you can definitely feel it from so little of what he's doing.
Yeah, because there's nothing dynamic about his facial expressions. He's pretty stone-faced, really. But he's able to convey so much anger in that stony expression.
Right.
And really, I think, kind of achieve. Like, I can't understand, after watching this episode, why there's such a divide, I feel, in the Buffy fandom, where Buffy is so perfect and wonderful, which she is, and that Angel is not on the same level. Because what is interesting to me about Buffy is how pure she is, and she's constantly being challenged. But I think Angel is so more complex in a way than she is as a character. Because he's constantly fighting with himself to be good.
I think that's interesting. They're both coming from, I guess, different places in their life, because Angel has been around.
Angel's 150 and she's 16.
Right. So her journey is different than his. But I do find it really interesting. The fact that they are brave enough to do this with their main character.
Well, it's not like this is... It's never been done where the main character does something that is morally reprehensible. And in fact, Angel does almost the exact same thing that he does here that he did in the 50s with the Hyperion residents then, when he lets them be tortured by that demon.
Right.
And I didn't like that episode because that had like one episode, and this has about 10 episodes of build up to it.
Well, that was like that episode. There wasn't so much more context to it. Well, yeah. This had all the context, and it didn't have a really bad old lady actor at the end.
Yeah, you're still really bothered by that. It's been 400 years. I just need to rest now. I think Darla should have performed her scene like that. I think that would have been good. Or Drusilla.
The other thing that really got to me, I mean, Darla and Drusilla in that scene are really an afterthought. I really just love Angel kind of communicating with Holland, and the rest of them just being like, hey, please help us. But having Drusilla, when he first shows up, it's the angel beast is what she says. Mm-hmm. But whenever he does I just can't seem to care and shuts the door, she does the daddy. And I found that really affecting.
Well, I find Drusilla's kind of whole mission to get her family back actually affecting and oddly sympathetic.
That's strange, but It is the weird family dynamic.
We can get into that later, but my favorite moment might be related to that. But
okay.
We will talk about that later, but I do find there's just something about the Buffy versus vampires where they are so evil, but they're also so human. But anyway, can we move on to feedback now, or you have something to say?
Well, all I'll say is having Angel close the doors and walk up the steps and hearing people scream is the darkest that this or Buffy has really done.
Yeah, and I don't think Buffy could make that moment happen and it be as effective. There's something about the DNA of Angel as a show where they can pull that off, and it is incredibly effective. I feel in the later seasons of Buffy that Buffy tries to do what Angel is really good at, and I don't think it's nearly as successful as Angel is. But that is a discussion for another podcast and show.
Do you want to save him firing the team?
Yeah, because that comes up in feedback a lot.
Okay, cool. So first up in feedback, we have Robin, and he says, in contrast to my reaction to the previous episode's twist, this one worked fantastically on Rewatch. The twist is aided by the fact that the conflict between Wolfman Hart and Angel has been fairly formulaic up to this point. They mess with him, he messes with them. Neither side can really hurt the other until this. The use of Cordelia's vision really drove home how Darla has distracted Angel from his purpose, and Holland gets what he wants in the most exquisite way. He wanted Angel to be dark. How's this for dark? The only complaint I have is that I would prefer it if the episode ended on Holland's horror rather than Angel's firing his staff. That was anticlimactic. And Joseph replied, I agree with Robin. The firing is a flat way to go out. It would have been better to end on the massacre, but at least have Angel sharpening weapons or guzzling blood or something, so he's a bit scary instead of so blah. So thank you guys.
Okay. See, this is what I disagree with, because it is more scary to me how blah he is when he fires them. Because what works so well in that firing scene is especially Cordelia, because she only has like a couple lines really, but she is pleading with him, and Chris McCarpenter's crying acting has been kind of off and on, but she is so desperate and conveys it so well, and he just stares at her and he has no reaction, and Cordelia has always been the one that is able to get some kind of reaction from Angel, and he just doesn't care anymore. And that, to me, I understand what people are saying, that if you go out on him walking away on the screens, that's an effective ending, but there's an emotional gut punch to him looking at his family and recognizing that they can save him, and he doesn't want their help.
Right. He doesn't want to be saved, and there is they're pleading with him, and to see him just coldly, just kind of, I let them kill a bunch of people, shrug.
Yeah, you just walked out? No, I went to my car, and I walked to my car, and then I left.
I mean, there's still something to it, and I like the direction that can go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm definitely looking forward to next week to see where our gang's at and where Angel's at.
I mean, by separating them, they have to give them something to do, even if that something to do is trying to not be separated from him anymore. Like, it does break, by breaking up the team, it makes what they've already been doing this season just official, that there's two kind of separate things going on.
Right. I don't mind the last moment, but I do think that, I don't know, it might have felt more resonant to end on Angel walking away as the people scream and close to black, just as a TV episode, because you don't get to let that moment breathe enough.
See, I think you do. And it may be just because this is the mid-season finale, I don't feel that way, because I think you do need you do need to have their reaction. Because if I don't think this can come, that firing scene can come at the beginning of an episode. And I think it really drives home to me where Angel's mental state is. Because in a way you could argue that maybe Wolfram and Hart do somehow deserve this. And he is somewhat justified. But the thing that is affecting to me is just his apathy, and I think you really get that in the firing scene.
I mean, it is true. I mean, they're both great scenes. There's just not... The last is not as dramatic.
See, I would disagree. I feel like they're both at an equal level of... It doesn't have the bombastic quality of Angel's walking away from the murder of about 20 people, but the quietness of that moment is just as dramatic to me, especially since I care so much about that four group of characters and their family dynamic that it's just as affecting to see Angel sentence people to die as to just not care about his friends anymore.
You best believe that.
Well, yeah. Oh, God. All right. Do you have anything else you want to say about the final scene?
No, we can move on to Joseph's comment.
All right. All right, so we now have rest of Joseph's comment. He said, this episode has a lot going for it. It's very effective to watch the sales clerk and Miss Manners lying on the ground massacred. It might be damselish to show us the women, but fade away from the truck driver's murder, but so be it. I wonder if Angel saved Miss Manners. Gunn's intelligence saves the day again. Also, Cordy's Google skills must have come in handy in finding the world's smallest nursery. Viewed alone, Kate was fine in this episode, but still doesn't make any sense. Angel drank her blood, and now she's rational. It's sad. It feels like they could have done something more with the character if they tried. Lindsay, on the other hand, was kind of interesting in this episode. I'm already tired of Drew's act. Without Spike to play off, she's just tiresome. Or as Drew has put it, barnacles have moved into my acting town, and I don't have any teeth. The stars are marigold, and Daddy is eating all the porridge. At this point, Angel should either stake both of them forthwith or find 2 more orbs of Thessala and have Willa curse them both. I mean, he thinks they're confined to a nightmarish existence, right? P.S. Is there any reason Willa just can't ensoul random vamps? She doesn't even need to be in the same area. It would be pretty funny to have Spike or Casitas just hang out somewhere and suddenly get a soul. But thank you, Joseph. As far as cursing them, I don't think Angel in any mental state is going to do that to another person. Right,
and I never even thought about that. You could actually, hey Willow, can you come curse these people? That would be really interesting.
Well, I don't think Angel would ever go there. Even where he is now, I don't think he'd ever do that.
Right.
Because he does want to, as dark as he is, he does want to save Darla. He wants to kill her so she has peace.
Right, which going back to last week's, that last moment when she kind of accepted it, you know, she kind of deserves that moment.
Mm-hmm. I think everyone deserves peace before they die. And she had it. You don't agree.
Well, in some
So you hate this episode and you think some people are just not deserving of any kind of redemption. Wow, someone's real negative.
I am Angel.
Well, no, Angel. If Angel didn't think they were deserving, I think he would curse them. I think he sees staking them as the only way that he can save them now.
Right. And they're both I'm sure he takes blame on both of them. I mean, he made Drusilla.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, in Buffy, he seemed to have a deep regret about Drusilla. Not so much in this episode.
So I'm sure he feels responsible for what's going on. He failed to save Darla, and he made Drusilla, and Wolfram and Hart is winning, and...
I don't think cursing them solves... I think cursing solves... Angel's not in a happy existence. There's nothing positive about the curse, even if Darla has a soul, and she can now live forever. It's not like Angel It's just, he's having a great time. Just when he's not with others. I don't think he would ever consider that. Because he knows what that existence is like. And I don't think he... Do you think he thinks they're doomed to a nightmarish existence as vampires? Because as vampires, they don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, when he was in Jealous, when he turned Drusilla, he equated it to her having eternal torment.
That's because she's insane. That's a different...
Right.
She's insane and she'll constantly torture like that.
I don't know, it is interesting. And then when he talks to Darla and he says, I'm sorry I couldn't save you, he's not really even talking to her. She doesn't care. She's like, she even says, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, he's talking to the human Darla.
Right.
Who may or may not be listening.
Basically, that was like the moment he just kind of like let it go and was like, okay, everyone's going to die. So we didn't talk about Kate in this episode.
What is there to say? I do actually like her in this episode, but she is not acting any way like the Kate we've been getting, and it's weird and whatever. Because I feel like she was so much better used when she was this version of Kate. Right,
and I think, to me, it felt like a pseudo-apology. Like, she does seem kind of sad to see Angel, and she lets him go. And to her,
it makes no logical sense how she is able to let him go.
Right. I agree. Like, I don't know
why there seems to be only one police officer in the city, and it is Kate.
She heard Angel was getting...
and she just seems to... She is very... Even if it is, like, Wolfram Hart, and they know that Wolfram Hart's corrupt, and they're like, whatever, we're just not going to deal with it. Whatever. It makes no logical sense that she is able to let him go. But I don't... As much as I would like to put the Shroud of Ramon into a box where we could never ever talk about it again, at the end of the episode, she did seem to break her stance on he's evil and that's all, and that's fine. It's whatever.
Right.
It's not a problem with this episode.
No.
That's something that happened, not. And it didn't happen well, but it happened, so I don't have a problem with them acknowledging it. It's just, if she comes back, I assume she'll come back in another episode, and what will she be then? It's a coin toss. When Kate shows up, you don't know what's going to go on.
So have you lost all investment in her character?
If she'd stayed the way she is in this episode, then no. Like, if magically she is back to the Kate that I enjoyed in the first season, I'd be fine.
So you would still be bought back in with her?
Sure. I mean, it wouldn't be like this is an amazing character development and what a journey. But I just hate the Kate we've been getting so much that I'm fine with just not acknowledging that it exists.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's true. I'm worried about how I'm going to feel about Kate. Like, we only got the brief scene.
At this point, she is honestly, she's below Lindsay in what they can do with her. Even though I hate Lindsay, at least they've been trying to do something that is somewhat interesting with him. She is, like, if they got rid of Kate at this point, I wouldn't be mourning the loss. She was written off the show.
Right.
And she just never shows up again.
Because I'm kind of in a weird state with her. Like, I do feel kind of... She is starting to feel kind of like a non-character because of the kind of hatred I've had for her character up until this point. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how much they try and redeem that character. If they keep this up, I mean, I might get back into her, but she has kind of felt lost to me. Yeah.
It's whatever to me. She's a non-entity. I don't feel any. It's just she's a mystery. She's as much as mystery as what Lindsay's going on, but I feel like that's not as there's an intentional mystery to Lindsay. This Kate is just like insane. They've written that all over the place.
So, do you have anything more to say with Joseph's comment?
I do not.
Okay. So next up we have Kanan.
Besides the fact that Angel definitely didn't save Han's wife. I wouldn't be surprised if he stepped on her on the way out.
So does help me account as an invitation?
She says, help us.
Help us.
I assume, yeah. They could have cut away where she said, come in. It's an invitation to come into the house and help them. He can't help them from outside.
Okay. Whatever. Those rules are always weird.
They recognize real estate weird thing, whatever. Like when Angel was allowed to go into the apartment because Darla was only renting it, whatever.
So next up we have Kanem. And Kanem says, well, that was kind of awesome. I'm ringing all over. But inevitably, here are 3 questions for Derek and William about reunion. 1. It struck me as odd that Holland wouldn't have a contingency plan for this very scenario. Wouldn't he have stakes or an axe in every room of his house, or was he just too arrogant to believe anyone could scuffle his plans? 2. Have you ever gone to a party that you knew the person of your dreams was going to be at, and instead of playing it cool, you acted like a total idiot and ruined any chance you may have had? The next time you saw them at the comic shop, you actually acted like a civil human being, and although your chance was gone, it was still okay. In related news, wasn't this the best use of Kate ever? 3. Whoa, locking them in was vicious of Angel. Thinking about it after the episode, this action seems to violate Angel's morality, at least a bit, but as I watched it, it didn't bother me. I bought that Angel was so angry that he would allow a massacre. Did you guys buy it? And he gave it an 80 out of 100. So thank you, Kanan.
What he's talking about in the second one is that Kate is so erratic and weird, and it's just now that she's fine, it's okay, is what he's saying.
Okay.
That is what he's saying. And yeah. The fact that Holland doesn't have a contingency plan, I don't think he expects anyone to attack. I think he is so arrogant.
Yeah, I do too.
Like, he wouldn't expect anyone to come into his home, a vampire to come in his home and try to kill him. That just isn't on his radar at all.
Right. Even whenever he's confronting Angel, he's like, "Oh, I'm having a wine tasting. You're not invited." Like, he's so full of himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it works. I think it.
Well,
really works.
He feels he's so untouchable, and up until this episode, he really has been.
I mean, he's controlled everyone around him. He's controlled Lila. He's controlled Lindsay. He's controlled Darla as a human, and he's even, to some extent, kind of controlled Drusilla, who's just a bag full of crazy.
Mm-hmm. If Holland hadn't been as well acted and written as he's been up to this point, it could have been like a complete disaster. But I completely believe that he is this competent, and how good he is at what he does will allow him to have so much arrogance.
Plus, where are you going to have a steak in a wine cellar? I mean...
Oh, there's plenty of places you can put it.
But it doesn't go with anything.
Yeah. Well, his wife obviously has no idea.
Right. She just invited them in.
So, I don't think we need to answer that if we buy that Angel does it, because obviously if we didn't, this episode would be terrible. And I think they built it's complete, because to me Angel does have a morality, obviously, but he's also not that nice of a human being. He is not nearly as pure as Buffy is personality wise. There's always a darkness to him, and I find it very compelling part of his character. And he's the hero, and that just because he's this dark does not cancel out his other heroic qualities. I think they both exist within him. Right.
They do kind of try and soften the blow in the following scene,
mm-hmm.
because they have Wesley say, like, yeah, they probably deserved it.
Well, yeah, I think if it's different than him locking Darla and Drusilla in with, if he had locked Darla and Drusilla in with the people in the store, as opposed to Wolfram Hart. Because even if everyone's not related, they are in some way related and responsible for this.
I mean, it is still obviously screwed up.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's not like this is a good thing, but it's not like he sentenced total innocence to die.
Sure, but for him to...
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just saying, I'm just agreeing with you that it's not like the worst thing imaginable that he could have done.
Right. I mean, it's still pretty bad.
No, it's terrible. But it's not like he's complete... What I'm saying is he's not completely irredeemable from this point. It's not like whatever...
It's not like he murdered them.
No. It's not like Angel... There's no coming back from this. That the character is... redemption story is over.
Right.
Like, he can still atone for this as well as everything else he's done.
It's just an interesting point for where his character is going to be.
Yeah.
And something that did strike me with them, because they do kind of try and soften the blow with Wesley and everything, it did feel... Again, kind of like that's why I felt like they didn't give that scene enough time to breathe, because then they were already trying to kind of explain it away a little bit.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think that's just recognizing the reality of the scene. I don't think, because they don't. It's not like they're in any way approving of what he did. It's one kind of line from Wesley that. They weren't nice people, but that doesn't mean you get to sentence him to death. You don't get to be their judge of who lives and who dies. Right.
I mean, Cordelia does even say you're just going to let them have free reign until they kill the people you don't like.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think they're doing that at all in that scene. I think they're just recognizing the reality of it. And the reality of it is, the people that Angel lets die are not the nicest people. That doesn't mean he's in any way in the right. It's just that's what they were, and they were somehow responsible for Darla being around.
Right. And what ultimately transpired with Darla. Mm-hmm. All right. So next up we have a voicemail from Andrew from Tacoma.
Reunion. Has there ever been a time where Angel just, tries the doorknob? Does he always have to kick the door in? Crazy. And let's see, I love on where they do the turn, you see the practice skid marks. I guess they couldn't wet the road down to kind of hide the facts, but that was about as obvious as the security guards blocking traffic in the premiere episode when they were jousting. Those guys are just standing down there watching. I know y'all talked about the guys sitting in the car, but there was two security guards there watching and stuff. I loved when Drusilla and Darla came in and they looked just like Faith and Buffy, kind of, I know we're not crossing over again, but let's just have them just look a little bit like Faith and Buffy. So, okay, that's all I have for now. Bye now.
So, thank you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm. I do not like Darla's murder outfit.
Murder outfit?
Because it does feel very early 2000s modern, and I don't think Darla is in any way that. Because she should be in a freaking ball gown. Always. Because she's just that regal and awesome.
Well, last time we saw her in modern times, I mean, before
she was wearing a schoolgirl outfit in modern.
Right.
And that was, I would not judge. That was just in very much a kind of disguise sort of thing.
But it felt a little strange. And it did look like Faith and Buffy.
I mean, I don't have a problem with
the leather and everything.
Yeah, it's the leather. It's the leather pants. And it's the hair too. She looks very much like when Buffy was acting like Faith. Or when Faith was in Buffy's body. Whatever, that weird episode. Not weird, it was a good episode, I'm just saying.
No. Yeah.
It's weird that there was a body switch. Anyway, what I'm saying is that I don't really particularly like that outfit.
Right. It is interesting to see them, but I mean, it is to kind of contrast the total, like the white dress and how Darla had been dressing. Like,
well, I think I like the white dress in contrast to the way she was acting.
Right, but like she's now a completely different person. She's embodied into the evil Darla.
I know, but I just don't like it. I think it was more effective when there was a contrast to the way she was dressing and the way she was acting, and I completely got it, as opposed to now she's just kind of dressed like a quote-unquote slut with her leather pants and her... it's weird, and I don't like it. Darla shouldn't dress... It's weird for me that Darla would choose that outfit, because we've never seen her wear anything like that. And
right.
Drusilla can wear whatever, because she's insane, and... she's wearing the same red dress she was before, but she just has that coat. I think it would have bothered me less if we had actually seen her trying on those clothes at that boutique. Because that outfit doesn't seem to come from that store that they were in. This is a way longer conversation than I have about that outfit.
I guess that's true. I mean, I don't know. It didn't bother me too much. But she does look kind of like every other vampire we've seen.
Yeah, that's what's bothering me.
There's nothing very differentiating or striking about her appearance.
Yeah, it's just that she looks so mundane as far as vampire go, and Darla has not been that. It's not like it takes me completely out of the scene, obviously. I'm just saying I'm not a fan of that outfit.
We went real deep there.
Yeah, we did. So.
The practice skid marks on the car stunt, I didn't notice that either. So they just kept failing with that.
I didn't really even... I try not to. If I can notice a bad stunt, I try to turn my brain off. But when it happens, it's never good if I notice it.
Right. I mean, I still liked a lot of the other stunts they did, like in the greenhouse fight, like having them being thrown around or thrown through the window. Like a lot of that stuff still really worked and was really interesting for me.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about in Andrew's voicemail? Or?
No, we can move on.
Okay. So next up we have Alicia, who said, favorite scenes. Gunn trying to figure out Angel's family tree. Drusilla calling Darla grandmother then daughter. Can she hear you? She's dead. Shh, for now. Angel talking about Drusilla and Sunnydale. It's the 21st century, Drew. All Darla and Drusilla scenes. Drusilla and Darla going shopping. Drusilla's red cheetah coat is pretty. Excuse me, miss. Customer with a question here and here. Service in this place is really unacceptable. I like Drusilla and Darla's outfits to kill the Wolfram Hart lawyers. Daddy's home. It's not Daddy. It's never Daddy. Then hisses, it's that angel beast. Angel jumping out of the sky when he goes to the greenhouse. Are there angels crazy? So according to Angel's family, Darla made Angel, who made Drusilla, who made Darla, but Drusilla also made Spike. So does that mean that Spike and Darla are vampire brother and sister? Drusilla is acting like this is the first vampire she's ever made. Angel can fly sort of when he's in the greenhouse, and he and Darla fly up and hit the glass ceiling and fall. Why does Lindsay have a scar on his eyebrow? Thank you, Alicia.
Well, Lindsay gets a scar from being thrown across the room.
Oh, does he? I didn't. Honestly, I tried not to look at his face.
But that's when you notice his eye bleeding or whatever, and he seems really unhappy.
I would just like to point out that we have not... I am pretty sure that we have not... If I know we haven't had like a shot of his hands, but I'm almost positive that the actor's not putting his hands in that fake cast thing.
No, they show it a couple of times.
They do, because I haven't really been paying attention, but just that they haven't talked about it, I find it not odd, because why would you talk about it all the time, though? But just when I see his hands, I'm not, whatever.
They kind of leave it hanging, and he always has his other hand in his pocket.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drusilla is pretty crazy about the whole baby thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not the first vampire she's ever made, but I think this is obviously important to her.
I liked Gunn trying to figure out the whole family tree thing and it bothering him more than them actually drinking blood.
Sure. The gun scene is weird to me because they keep doing gun exposition scenes, which I don't think are necessarily vital.
Right.
But it's not like it bothers me in any way. At least they have a gunness about them that makes them enjoyable. But yes, I would say that Spike and Darla are vampire brother and sister, and I would say, yeah. And then Drusilla would be his mother, too, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
mother and mother.
There is a ton of weird crap going on there. I'm fine with. That's whatever.
Well, it's like all vampire stories.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No. I guess we can move on.
Well, we could talk about that greenhouse scene where they don't do that a lot because I feel like the budget probably can't afford it, but there haven't been a whole lot of vampire fights, but I do like it when they really go all out with the pyrotechnics that they can jump all around. Right.
Like, this definitely harkened back to whenever Jeremy Renner showed up.
Yeah, the pen fight is the other thing I'm thinking about when they, like, destroyed that building. And what?
Well, I was going to say, it felt adequate. Like, if you're going to have Drusilla and Darla as vampires in your episode, mm-hmm. you better kind of go all out with it.
Yeah. And I like that even though it is weird that it's the smallest plant nursery in the world, and that's where Drusilla feels is special enough to birth Darla, I do like the claustrophobia of that setting that they can just destroy it.
Right. I thought they did a good job. I'm still kind of sad that it's such a tight scene.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it works. By making it a tight scene, it works that they don't have to. They can cut corners, and it can be kind of dark, and it doesn't matter. As opposed to the problem I have with the street, where it's so well lit because it's on a street and it's so wide open that it feels like they're holding back.
Okay, yeah, I can totally get that.
Because there's just some things that they, budget-wise, they can't do. So if you make the scene as small as possible, and make it claustrophobic, then it doesn't become as noticeable.
Right. I mean, it is a balancing act.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, it is what it is.
Okay. So let's go to favorite moment.
Well, I picked the obvious one. Mm-hmm. Angel walking up the steps. I'm going with Angel walking up the steps while you can hear the massacre kind of beginning. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was the most affecting, just kind of how coldly he walks away. I mean, obviously, it's the darkest we've seen from Angel, and I think it is really interesting that they're willing to take the hero of their show to this kind of level.
Okay. I mean, obviously, in a way, I picked my favorite moment in reaction to that because I don't think there is a better moment in this episode than that. But surprisingly, as I said before, I found there was I felt oddly sympathetic when Drusilla breaks down in the street, and I think part of that is just there's something very interesting to me about the Buffyverse vampires, where they represent the worst of humanity, and they do the worst things that humanity can do to each other, but also they're also deeply human as well. And just Darla really kind of comforting her as a mother or grandmother or whatever. There's so much like weird, just screwed up things going on in that whole like family, but in a way it is still a family, and that's very compelling to me that the villains can be just so deranged, but also they do have there is a spark, and a very real spark of humanity. Like they do. Drusilla is insane, but she does her love for her grandmummy and the fact that she was lonely is just as real as her pleasure at getting off on murder.
Right.
So that's why I went with that one.
I can totally see that, yeah. So, scores?
Why don't you go first with your pathetically low score?
So, I think, I mean, I've tried to explain why I'm not going to.
I mean, you're just wrong. It's fine.
I mean, it's true. I'm probably just wrong. I'm giving this a 75 out of 100. I as much as I love that last moment, I felt more of a connection with Darla, the episode Darla, than this. I think, to me, there was just something lacking about seeing Darla as a vampire again, and I didn't get necessarily like the spark of humanity from her, as she just gets the kind of mustache twirl. The thing that was really interesting to me was obviously all of the Angel material, and that's what really was the highlight of the episode for me.
Okay. All right. So what I went with, and this is his correct score, is a 91, because it's helpful doing it. I don't like doing the scores ever, to be honest. But
right.
Doing it as a retrospective, thinking about the rest of the series, when I think about the things that Angel is really good at and the moments that stand out to me, about 3 of them are in this episode. And I can't not grade it deservedly on that. And I'm actually quite surprised that going into the episode, I did not expect to give it, the first episode, to give a 90. I did not expect to be this one. But I just was so impressed by everything in this, and and we know how nitpicky and anal I can get, and I didn't have, like, hardly any problems. Like, it's been a while since I've enjoyed an episode of TV so much as the way I did this one, so that's why I ended up it being the first episode that breaks the 90s.
I'm just a cold, heartless...
Apparently.
Oh, dear.
I mean, it's not your fault. It's not... just how you respond to it, and I was really impressed by this episode in a way that surprised me, but then also when I think about all the other moments in the series, which I'm not going to talk about, obviously, but there's just so many, like I said, per capita in this episode, great moments that represent what the show can do, that I have to grade it accordingly.
Right. I mean, this definitely is a big moment for Angel.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this episode more to me separates it from Buffy in what it can do, and it can do things that are just as good, if not better, than Buffy can do.
Right. It can definitely go in some dark places, and I am looking forward to just how dark we'll go. All right. And if you'd like to leave us some feedback, you can do so by commenting on the post at theangelrewatch.wordpress.com.
Or you can send an email to angelrewatch@gmail.com.
Or you can call our voicemail number at 206-203-3276.
Or you can go to the Tumblr, which is angelrewatch.tumblr.com, to see all the reviews archived there and the gifs of whatever episode we're watching.
We're available on iTunes and Stitcher. While you're there, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps promote the show. You can follow me on Twitter at NerdGuyWilliam.
Oh, I changed my Twitter. Okay, and you can follow me on Twitter at the